The hollow choir. In a rotting loft above the part of Dieppe, where salt eats the walls and the gold scream like rusted hinges, Moel lived surrounded by 8 reel-to-reel machines, old beasts from the 70s. Their metal bodies scarred, their dusty knobs sticky with decades of fingerprints. The tape reels turned slowly, like tired lungs breathing brown ribbon. He recorded everything. The wind clawing at broken windows, the wet slap of waves against the pier, his own heartbeat when fever came. One winter night, the tapes answered back. Not echoes, voices, a choir of impossible purity, layered like frost on glass, singing the exact melody he had buried at 17 because it hurt too much to finish. They knew the pitch his mother exhaled when she died. The brown tape grew warm, then hot, then it pulsed. Moel begged them to stay, so they crawled deeper inside the oxen, nesting like larvae. Each morning, the reels were heavier, as if something fattened within. On the first day of spring, he pressed play one last time. The choir rose perfect, inhuman, and the tape snapped with a sound like a throat tearing. A single breath left the machine open his mouth to scream, but only music poured out. His voice, finally flawless, finally no longer his. They said, if you walk the quays at fog with a recorder, you can still catch a few seconds of that choir. But the moment your own name appears in the harmony, the tape erases itself, as if you feel suddenly hollow, like part of you has already begun singing somewhere else. The painter who swallowed grey. After her daughter drowned in a lake too blue to be real, Leah threw every tube of color into the water and locked the door on pigment forever. She painted only in granite, zinc, ash, wet stone, the gray of old mirrors that no longer reflect. Her canvases were huge, taller than doors, thick, with layers scrapped and re-scrapped until the linen bled. One winter, she began mixing in the new gray, corpse pale, almost luminous. The first brushstroke sign, not metaphor. The paint actually exhaled, slow and cold, like breath on a January window. She kept adding layers. Each coat made the gray hungrier. It started drinking like then sound, then memory. By the 30th layer, the canvas was no longer flat. It had depth, like looking into frozen water. One night, she leaned too close and the gray inhaled. She felt her grief slide out of her chest. Thick, terry, the exact color she had been chasing. The painting took it all, the scream she never released at the funeral, the weight behind her eyes, the last warmth in her hands. When it was done, the canvas was perfectly, radiantly gray, the gray of absolute nothing. Leah stepped back, empty, smiling for the first time in years. She has not spoken since. The guilty only that remembered too much. Gabriel bought the guitar in a pawn shop that smelled of mildew and broken promises. A 1959 Gibson. Sunburst faded to bruised purple. Pickguard cracked like dried blood. Frets worn into soft valleys by someone else's ghost. The first time he played it at 3 a.m., the low E string answered with a note that wasn't his. A bend he never made, a vibrato that tasted like tears. Every night after, the guitar played him. It remembered every heartbreak his previous owners never resolved. The woman who left him 7:30, the overdose in 88, the suicide note written on the motor Bible in 2001. The memories came out as licks, slow, wounded, perfect. Gabriel's own songs dried up. Why write when the guitar already knew everything sadder and truer than he ever could? His fingers blistered, then bled, then healed into scar tissue, shaped like the old player's calluses. One dawn, he woke to find the guitar strung with something darker than steel. Thin strands that pulsed faintly. He understood. It had been slowly replacing his strings with his own nerves. The last chord he ever played used every vein in his left hand. Now the guitar sits in the same pawn shop waiting. It still sounds incredible, and if you plug it in at 3:33 a.m., it will play your future regrets so beautifully, you'll let it finish the solo, even if it takes the feelings in your fingers forever. The sketchbook that drew first. Mara's sketchbook was cheap, spiral bound. The kind students lose in cafes. She drew only at night, in bed, under the weak orange glow of a street lamp leaking through the blinds. Pencil so soft, it felt like breathing on a page. 1 week, the drawings started before she touched. A single line, hesitant, hers but not hers, would appear while she sharpened the pencil. Then her whole eye watching her from the corner of the paper. The faces were always people she had not met yet. She recognized them anyway. She began leaving the sketchbook open on purpose. By morning, entire portraits waited, raw, trembling, alive with cross-hatching that looked like scar tissue. The paper grew warm, then damp, then it bled graphite when she pressed it too hard. The last night, The book drew her sleep, every detail perfect. The drool on the pillow, the vein pulsing in her temple, the terror in her open eye that had not yet opened in real life. When she woke, the drawing was still wet. She closed the sketchbook gently, like closing a coffin. She had not opened it since. Sometimes, in absolute silence, she hears the soft raps of pencil inside, still working, still waiting for her to fall asleep again, so it can finish the portrait. The silence that owned the studio. 810 recorded ambient music in a concrete basement studio, where the air tasted of rust and cold stone. Microphones hung like dead spiders from the ceiling, capturing the nothing between sounds. One October, he decided to record absolute silence. No hum, no breath, no heartbeat. He killed every device, unplugged the fridge upstairs, even stopped swallowing. He pressed record and waited. 33 minutes of perfect void. When he played it back, there was a presence in the silence, something listening back. Each night he played that file again, and each night the silence grew thicker, warmer, closer. It started pressing against his eardrums like deep water. On the seventh night, the silence stepped out of the speakers. It had weight. It had temperature. It had intention. It wrapped around him in a way darkness wraps a match just before it goes out. It never screamed. There was nowhere left for sound. Now the studio door is locked from the inside. The red light on the recorder still glows. If you stand outside and press your ear to the steel door, you can hear the silence breathing. Slow, patient, waiting for the next artist brave enough to give it a room of its own.